Okay, let's unpack this. So picture it. You're planning that absolute trip of a lifetime to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the sunscreen, you booked the car, and there's that one non-negotiable on your list, Pearl Harbor.
Absolutely. It's one of those world-altering historical sites you have to go.
You feel a duty to go, right? You just
Hmm.
can't fly all the way to Oahu and skip it.
No way.
But then you start, digging into the travel forums. You look at the logistics, and
Hmm.
you hear about the lines, the super strict rules, the confusion.
Oh, the confusion. Which ticket gets you where, what you can bring.
Exactly. And all of a sudden, that solemn pilgrimage starts to feel like a massive stress-inducing headache.
Yeah.
You go from, I need to pay my respects to, I'm going to need a spreadsheet for this.
It's a really common tension. We see it with so many huge global landmarks,
Yeah.
the Vatican, the Eiffel Tower. The gravity of the site gets almost crushed by the weight of tourism. But Pearl Harbor's a little different. You're balancing this incredible national tragedy with, active military bases, federal regulations, and thousands of other people.
It's not just a museum, it's a friction point.
That's a great way to put it. And that is exactly why today's deep dive is so interesting. We're looking at a whole stack of materials from one specific company.
And we're not just reviewing them. We have their tour logs, pricing structures,
Yeah.
a bunch of reviews, and some photos that really paint a picture.
Can you kind of hack the Pearl Harbor experience?
Mm-hmm.
So the mission today is to figure out how a private, customizable tour changes the whole narrative of visiting a site like this. Can it be history, logistics management, and even, local leisure all rolled into one?
Okay, so let's start with the heavy stuff first, the historical core. The source material calls it Valor in the Pacific.
Right.
Now, when most people say, I'm going to Pearl Harbor, they usually mean one specific place. But our sources break it down into a few different sites, and I think that's where the confusion kicks in.
That is the number one mistake. Pearl Harbor is the location. The experience is, well, it's scattered. The main event, the centerpiece, is the USS Arizona Memorial.
The one in all the photos.
Exactly. The white structure floating over the water, the most popular and essential stop. It's a tomb.
It sits right over the sunken battleship.
It does. And here's the technical detail that causes all the problems. It's managed jointly by the National Park Service and the U.S. Navy.
Ah, that partnership. That sounds complicated.
It is. It dictates all the strict rules. The Navy controls the water, and the Park Service controls the people.
But the sources also list the Battleship Missouri, the Bowfin Submarine, the Aviation Museum. These aren't just little side exhibits.
No, they're massive historical assets, and they're all separate. The Missouri, the Mighty Mo, is where the war ended. The surrender was signed on her deck.
So you have the beginning and the end of the war right there.
Right next to each other. The Arizona, the tragedy that pulled the U.S. in, and the Missouri, the victory. It's an incredible narrative arc.
If you can actually get to both of them.
If you can get to them. That's the catch. The Missouri and the Aviation Museum are on Ford Island.
And Ford Island is an active military base?
It is. You can't just drive your rental car on there. You need clearance, or you have to be on an authorized shuttle. This is where the logistics just start to strangle the experience for most people.
Let's look at one of the images here, because I think it captures that arc you mentioned.
It's a huge statue, and in the context of a tour like this, seeing it creates this tangible, emotional bookend. You start your day looking at the wreckage of the Arizona, maybe seeing the oil leak, the black tears. It's so heavy.
It's a mass grave.
And then later, you see this massive, colorful statue of just pure joy and relief.
It forces you to process the whole war, not just the attack.
Exactly. If you only get tickets for the Arizona, you only get the tragedy. You miss the resolution.
Speaking of emotions, there's another image here I found really striking. It's a couple, seen from behind. In her hair, looks almost bridal. He's wearing a hat that says Mr. King.
And his shirt says MR, so you assume hers says MRS.
Right, it looks like they're on their honeymoon. And that's where I got a little, confused. They're on a tour of a war memorial, but they're dressed for a wedding celebration.
It seems like a contradiction for sure, but I think this really gets to the heart of what these custom tours are about.
How so?
Well, people don't stop being on their honeymoon just because they're visiting a historical site. Halia seems to be creating a space where you can, pay tribute, but also acknowledge you're in Hawaii, in paradise, celebrating life.
It's okay to be happy and sad on the same day.
Of course. And a private car lets you navigate that emotional shift privately. You're not being herded onto a bus right after having this profound, maybe tearful experience.
Well, speaking of being herded,
Mhm.
Let's talk logistics. This is where the dream trip hits a wall of reality. The frequent questions source is basically a list of headaches.
It's a pretty formidable list.
The first one that jumped out at me was the no-bag policy,
This gets so many people. The National Park Service is incredibly strict. No backpacks, no purses, no camera bags, nothing.
which is a nightmare if you took a rideshare there and have nowhere to put your stuff.
Exactly. There's a bag check, but there's a line and it costs money. It's friction right at the front door.
And the tickets. The source says tickets for the Arizona are on recreation.gov, and they just vanish.
It's the Taylor Swift ticket phenomenon for history buffs. Thousands of people clicking refresh. If you miss out, you're in a standby line in the sun just hoping.
And it says if you miss your shuttle time for the Arizona, another one might not be available.
It's game over. You miss the boat, you miss the memorial.
So how does this fix all this? It almost sounds like you're paying to cheat the system.
Well, you're paying for convenience, for access. First, the bags. Your stuff just stays in the private car. Problem solved.
That alone is huge.
Huge. And for the tickets, the text says they help reserve Arizona tickets in advance. That's gold dust. But for the other sites, it says they have contracts to skip the other ticket lines.
Contracts to skip lines. That's a powerful phrase. So you're basically bypassing the bureaucracy.
You're paying for efficiency. On vacation, time is your most valuable asset. If you save an hour standing in the sun, that's an hour you can spend actually learning something or, eating a donut.
Oh, we will definitely get to the donuts. But first, let's look at the menu of options. It's like a subscription model for history.
It is. Half day, full day, and long day.
Okay, half day, 6 hours, starts at $699. That covers the essentials.
That's your Arizona Memorial and the Visitor Center. Get in, pay respects, get back to the beach.
Then the full day, 9 hours from $799.
Now you're adding depth. The Missouri, the Bowfin Submarine, it says it allows for 2 or 3 exhibits. You're getting the bigger picture.
And then
Yeah.
the long day, 12 hours, start at $899. I mean, 12 hours on a tour. Who has the stamina for that?
It sounds exhausting, right? But look how they frame it. They call it the immersive experience. They talk about VR headsets and scenic stops. The key phrase is that it allows for a relaxed way to see everything.
So the longer tours is actually less exhausting.
That's the argument. If you try to cram everything into 6 hours, you're sprinting. You're just checking boxes. With 12 hours, you can actually listen to the audio guide, sit down for a minute, and just process it.
And I guess for a family, that $899 price tag, when you split it per person, it isn't that much more for double the time.
It's a value proposition for sure. Depth versus brevity.
Okay, so you've picked your time.
Oh,
But this is where the private part really comes in. The source says choose the attractions that resonate with you most and skip the rest.
and that is a huge deal. Standard tours are linear. You go where the bus goes.
But maybe you don't care about submarines. Maybe you're claustrophobic.
Exactly. On a bus tour, you're sitting on the curb. Here, you just say, let's skip the Bowfin, and boom, you've got an extra hour.
And you use that hour to get local flavor. The sources explicitly list malasadas, those Portuguese donuts, and shave ice.
It connects the history to the present-day culture of Oahu. You're not just in a federal bubble. And they list real local spots. Leonard's Bakery, Nico's Pier 38. These are legit.
Leonard's is an institution, but
Yeah.
isn't that a weird transition? You go from the tiers of Arizona, and then 20 minutes later, you're eating a hot donut.
It creates a kind of whiplash, yeah. But it also humanizes the day. It acknowledges you need a break. You can't sustain that level of intense grief for 12 hours. You need a palate cleanser.
And maybe some beauty.
That's a crucial pivot. You go from concrete and gray steel to that lush, beautiful coastline.
There's another photo here. It's a big family. Grandparents, parents, teens.
And this speaks to that family dynamic point. The source text is very honest. It says the Arizona is reflective and can be boring for young kids.
I love that they admit that. Most places just say fun for the whole family.
Right. By admitting it, they position the private tour as the solution. Kids melting down, you've got snacks in the car, grandparents are tired, you drive to a scenic lookout instead. You manage everyone's energy levels.
Like damage control for the family vacation.
In a way, yeah. It preserves the peace.
Now, none of this works if your guide is a bore.
Yeah.
You're stuck with this person for up to 12 hours. We have to talk about the guide factor.
The reviews are glowing.
And
They point to specific things. Knowledgeable, respectful, you expect that. But then humor and not rushed.
one reviewer, Mike O, said, We liked it so much we booked him again before we left.
That's the ultimate compliment. Repeat business on the same trip. That is so rare.
It suggests he's not just reciting a script.
He's reading the room. He knows when to be serious and when to suggest a donut stop. He's curating the vibe, not just driving the car.
So when we put this all together, the photos, the prices, the logistics, what's the core takeaway here?
I think it's that Pearl Harbor is a heavy, complex, incredibly important site, but visiting it comes with this massive logistical burden.
And though so what is that you don't have to suffer through the logistics to get the history.
Exactly. By controlling the pace, the environment, you transform the experience. It stops being about did we catch the bus and starts being about what happened here. You can actually connect with the past without sacrificing the joy of your vacation.
It's permission to do both things. Honor the fallen and enjoy being in paradise.
You don't have to be miserable to be respectful.
Before we wrap, I want to leave our listener with one final thought. The sources keep mentioning that the Arizona Memorial is jointly managed by the Park Service and the Navy. It's rigid, it's official.
It is. Strict rules, federal law, not a playground.
So, here's the question. How does our experience of history change when it's seamlessly blended with a stop for donuts and a hike?
Does luxury insulate us from history, or does it give us the peace of mind to actually let it sink in?
Something to think about, I guess. That's it for this deep dive. Safe travels, everyone.